Hi guys, how are you today? I hope to be fine and feeling well. Hi guys, you remember that sentence that I told you before? Once again, I repeat for you. Never give up because great things take time. If you want to learn better, if you want to reach your goal, okay, you should waste your time to reach your goal. Okay, in this video, I'm gonna teach you Prism, the minimum angle of deviation in Prism. I told you what is Prism, what is the angle of deviation. Now, the minimum angle of deviation in Prism. You see, this angle of deviation, light, when the light is incident on the surface, it is refracted twice during its journey. This is the angle of deviation. When the angle of deviation is minimum, okay, remember this point. The angle of the minimum deviation occurs when the angle of incident, it means I1, is equal to the angle of emergence I2. It means when the minimum deviation occurs when the angle of I1 is equal to I2. Similarly, R1 is also equal to R2. Okay, let's find. Here we have a formula. A is equal R1 plus R2. I will write here R plus R because R1 is equal to R2. Okay, here we have what? 2R. What is R? R is equal A over 2. This is the angle of refraction. Also here we have a formula, deviation, the angle of deviation. D is equal I plus I2 minus A. I will write I plus I is minus A because I1 is equal to I2. Okay, I plus I is equal, D is equal 2 times I minus A is equal. I is equal. We bring the A is in the other side of equation. I is equal D. It is the M, okay? It is the M. It is the M. D became dmy. I1 is equal to I2. D changed to dm. Okay, dm plus A over 2. This is the angle of incident. Now, you know that refractive index. Refractive index N is equal sine I over sine R. Okay. What is sine I? dm plus A over 2. What is sine R? Sine R is equal A over 2. Okay, this is the formula of, let me write you. N is equal sine I dm plus A over 2 over sine A over 2. This is the index. This is the refractive index of prism. Let me write you refractive index of prism. From this formula, you can find refractive index of prism. N is equal sine dm plus A over 2 sine A over 2. Now, let me find you the minimum angle of deviation. How to find the minimum angle of deviation? Okay, if the angle of apex, you know the angle of apex, becomes very small, it means A becomes smaller and equal than 6. We can find dm. What is dm? The minimum angle of deviation. Okay, how to find the minimum angle of deviation? In a very small angle, for very small angle, we can write sine I is equal to sine I. Okay. Here we have n. N is equal sine dm plus a over 2 over sine a over 2. And instead of, we don't write, for a small angle, we don't write sine. I will write here sine, dm plus a over 2 over a over 2. Remember this fine? Okay, we finish 2 by 2. dm plus a over a. Now we multiply this one. Okay, dm plus a is equal n times a. N times a. Now, dm is equal to n times a minus a. We factor a. dm is equal n minus 1. This is the formula that minimum angle of deviation. Minimum angle of deviation. From this formula you can find minimum angle of deviation. The minimum angle of deviation depends on apex and also in refractive index. Now, I tell you one point more. Okay, the angle of deviation depends on incidence, the angle of incidence. Remember this point. The angle of deviation depends on the angle of incidence. See, this is the angle of incidence. The angle of deviation depends on angle of incidence. Okay, the angle of deviation depends on the angle of incidence, and at a certain angle of incidence, the angle of deviation has its minimum value. Okay, now I will tell you. I told you that the angle of deviation depends on angle of incidence. The angle of incidence, I'm right you, the angle of incidence increase, the angle of deviation decrease. Okay, when the angle of incidence is increase, then the angle of deviation increase. Increase. Okay, let me tell you. Let me see the graph. The angle of incidence increase. The angle of deviation is decrease. You see the graph? And the angle of incidence is increased, the angle of deviation is also increased. But here, it is a minimum point. At a certain I, in the certain angle of incidence, here we have what? Here we have the minimum angle of deviation. This is called the angle of deviation. At a certain incident of the angle of incidence, the deviation angle has its minimum value. Okay, my students, these are all about today's lesson. If you have any question about today's lesson, try to comment below. And don't forget, follow our YouTube channel. Have a nice day.